Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to the Friday night service at Temple Beth El Salinas. I am Nancy Makita. I will be helping out, but Jeff Siegel will be our service leader this evening. So he's also running the live broadcast. So he will be joining us and leading the singing this evening. You ready, Jeff? So we have the opening song. Or we can do candle lighting first.
Sure.
Okay. So on page 3 for candle lighting. O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. And we turn to page 9, where we have a responsive reading. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. We turn to page 13 for Shiru Ladonai. Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz. Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash. Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz. Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash. And we turn to page 20 for Lecha Dodi. And tonight we will do verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, and we will rise to greet the Sabbath bride on verse 9. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad, Hishmianu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad. L'shem u'tiferet le'litchila. Lecha dodi, lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki mekor habracha, Nehirosh mikadam nesucha, Sof maaseh v'machshavat tchila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, Kiva orech kumi uri, Shir daberi, Kevod Adonai alayik negla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Please rise. Bo'i v'shalom ateret bala, Gam v'simcha u'v'tzola, Toch emunei am segula, Bo'i chala. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Nancy, did you want to do the reading on page 22?
Okay.
Okay.
On the bottom of page 22, a song for Shabbat. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night, with the 10-stringed harp, with voice and lyre together. You have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai! How very subtle your designs! A brute cannot know, a fool cannot understand this. The righteous bloom like a date palm, they thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in the courts of our God. In old age they still produce fruit. They are full of sap and freshness, attesting that Adonai is upright, my rock, in whom there is no wrong.
And we turn to page 24 for Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShaharet, Malachei HaElyon. Mihi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei HaElyon. Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei HaElyon. Mihi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei HaElyon. Mihi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Nihi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we move into the regular part of our service after the Kabbalat Shabbat. And we turn to page 26 and rise for the Chatzi Kaddish, followed by the Baruch Hu. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabba, amen. Ve'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei. Echayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho be'Yisrael. Hagala bahagala uv'izman kahariv ve'imeru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam ne'omei omaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach yipar v'romam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shmei dekudesha brichu le'la min kol berchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata dahami ran belma v'imeru. Amen. And we turn to page 28 for the call and response of the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Please be seated. And we turn to page 30 for the Ma'ariv Aravim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro Ma'ariv Aravim b'chokhmah potech she'arim u'bitnuna neshanei itim mechalif et hazmanim u'mesader et hakochavim v'mishurotechem barakiach kirtzono borei yom v'layla golea or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or u'mavir yom u'mevi layla u'mavdil bein yom u'vein layla Adonai tzvaot shemo el chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai HaMa'ariv Aravim. Amen. And we turn to page 32 and where we sing the Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Havta Torah u'mitzvot Hukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadata Al Kain Adonai Eloheinu v'shachbenu Kumenu nasiach bechukecha V'nismach v'divrei Toratecha u'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed Ki hem chayenu le'orech yameinu uvahem nege yomam v'layla Be'atcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael Ohev Amo Yisrael. And we turn to page 34. Please rise for the Shema. Shema Please be seated. And join me in the Ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alvavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha ha'bevetecha uvelechtecha ha'vaderech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot ha'yadecha v'hayu letotafot beinenecha uchtavtam amazuzot beitecha uvihisharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kadoshim lelohechem ahani Adonai Elohechem hotzei tiechem meretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Amen. Amen. Howard, we have a reading on page 41. If you'd like to read that, you can read it from there if you'd like.
Yes. Sing the song of men and women, joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, and earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravaged by war, now quiet and content, for soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace, the song of peace.
And we turn to the next page, page 40, for Mi Kamocha. Mi Kamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi Kamocha nehedar ba'kodesh, no ra tehilot hosefela, no ra tehilot hosefela, malchutecha rahu anecha, Okeyayam lifne Moshe Miriam Zelihanu ve'ameru Adonai imloch Adonai imloch leolam vahed V'nemar kifada Adonai et Yaakov v'galo miyad chazak mimenu baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. Amen. And we turn to page 46 and rise for the tefillah. Adonai sefatai pitachu v'yahi Adonai, open up my mouth that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei El Hagadol Hagibor Hanoraha El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Bekonei Hakol Bezocher Chaste Avot V'Imaot Umevi Gula Livnei V'neihem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magin Avraham Vezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechaye hakol atarav lehoshia. Mashiva ruach umorid hagashem. Mechalkel chayim bechesed. Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim. Solmech noflim verofeh cholim. Umatir asurim. Umechaye emunato lishenei ahafar. Mi kamocha bal givurot, umido melech, melech me'mihit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'manata l'chayot ha'akol, baruch atah Adonai, mechaye ha'akol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, uv'kadoshim b'chol yom, Yahalalucha Selah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. And we continue silently to page 60. And we turn to page 62 and join in the Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru imru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Imru Amen. So we've reached the point in our service where we would ordinarily have a Torah service, but we do not have a minyan tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the part of the Torah that I have prepared from Balak, which is this week's portion. And you may recognize it because this is a part of the Torah that actually appears in our morning liturgy. And the chapter is chapter 24 in Numbers. It's sort of in the middle of Balak. And there are two main characters. There's Balak and there's Bilam. And Bilam is the one who has a hard time taking orders from Balak because he's got instructions from a higher power. So the portion that I'll read is 24, 1 through 5. Vayar Bilam ki tov b'nei Adonai levarech et Yisrael v'lo halach kafa'am bepa'am likrat nechashim v'yashet al hamidbar panav. Vayisa vil'am et einav, vayar et Yisrael shochein lishvatav, vatihi alav ruach Elohim. Vayisa mishalo v'yaumar, ne'um bil'am be'or beno pe'or, u'ne'um ha'gever shetum ha'ayin. Ne'um shomea imrei el, asher machazeh sadai yechezer nofel ugelui einayim. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. And in the English, now Balaam, seeing that it pleased Adonai to bless Israel, did not, as on previous occasions, go in search of omens, but turned his face toward the wilderness. As Balaam looked up and saw Israel encamped tribe by tribe, the Spirit of God came upon him. Taking up his theme, he said, "The word of Balaam, son of Beor, the word of the man whose eye is true, the word of one who hears God's speech, who beholds visions from the Almighty, prostrate but with eyes unveiled. How fair are your tents, O Jacob, your dwellings, O Israel." And while we're contemplating the Torah as part of the service, should we do the Misha Beirach?
Yeah, okay.
Do we have some names to mention tonight?
I don't have a list, so
Okay.
we'll just.
Well, so I know we've got Carla and Harold and Joyce and Dolores. Anyone else? Howard was not feeling well. He's doing a lot better now. You're on our list. Okay. I have family friends. The wife's name is Jennifer. We'll just say a special Misha Beirach for her. And the Misha Beirach is found on page 253. Am I right?
Sounds right.
Misha Beirach avotenu mekor abracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Beirach imotenu mekor abracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. And we'll just, Nancy has a few comments about tonight's Torah reading.
Yes, Jeff mentioned there were two main characters to this portion, Balak and Balaam, and it's easy to mix it up because their names both start with the B-A. At any rate, this portion is named after Balak simply because his name comes from the first line. Balaam is the one that we know more about. Balaam is called a prophet. He's not an Israelite, but he's still called a prophet. And Balak, who's the ruler, calls on him. He wants him to curse the Israelites who are bugging him. But Balaam consults God, and it sounds like it's the Jewish God. And God says, no, you can't do that. In fact, he's told he is to bless Israel. So that is what he does. And of course, Balak gets really upset about it. The other part of the story, I'm going to tell the whole story, but the other part of the story that most people know is the talking donkey. and connected with that is, some people can quite decide, is Balaam good or bad? He does bless Israel instead of cursing, so that sounds good. But he beats his poor donkey, and the donkey refuses to go on because there's an angel blocking the way, and he goes from side to side, bumps into the wall, he lays down, and each time Balaam beats him. But finally, Balaam does see the angel, and he apologizes to the donkey. Well, the donkey says, why did you do this? Okay. So he wasn't very nice to beat the donkey. So I don't know whether we're supposed to excuse him because he couldn't see the angel. Then there's another part of the story in a different portion where Balaam is killed along with some other bad people. And there he's called evil. So it's a little hard to tell. Anyway, it's a really nice story. And if you want to know more, we're going to do it in Torah study tomorrow morning at 10:30. So we will be doing that on Zoom tomorrow. Anybody out there want to join us? If you need a way to get into Zoom, hopefully you can contact me and I'll tell you. So that's my short devar.
Can I add one thing?
Okay.
So a little further along in the portion that I was reading tonight, it goes on for quite a bit about the allusions in this story after how fair are your tents, O Jacob, your dwellings, O Israel. And it comes down here is at the end, we see the injunction, blessed are they who bless you, Israel, and accursed are they who curse you. And so this is the heart of this parsha, and that is that Balak was egging Balaam on to curse Israel, and instead the words couldn't come out of his mouth because Adonai was speaking through him. So we now have some announcements, maybe?
Not very many. I already
Okay.
made one. We have Torah study tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll be here again next week.
Okay. Perhaps Cantor will be back next week.
Yes, Cantor Brenner will be here this
Okay.
coming week. We have board meeting on Wednesday. Not too much else happening. It's summer. So I do have a little story for you. So this is about Rabbi Middleman. He's slightly absent-minded rabbi, and he goes to a conference for the humor impaired, hoping to learn how to tell jokes. Okay, guess what? To assist his Torah sermons. He sits transfixed as a cleric gets up and gives a dynamic opening. My friends, I want you to know the best years of my life were spent in the arms of a woman that wasn't my wife. The room was shocked. Then the speaker added with a smile, "And that woman was my mother." And the crowd burst into laughter as he went on to deliver the rest of his talk. That's not the end of the story. Rabbi Middleman is duly impressed, rehearses the joke for weeks. He gets up in the pulpit. He's determined to open with the same effect. So on his first Shabbos in the pulpit, he clears his throat and begins. "The greatest years of my life were spent in the arms of another woman that was not my wife." Well, the congregation sits up shocked and stunned into silence. Having achieved his opening effect, Rabbi Middleman desperately tries to remember the punchline. I know how it feels. That's why I'm reading this. And finally blurts out, "And I can't remember who she was."
That's even worse. That's even worse.
So like Balak,
She
the
made a
people
big
didn't know whether he was good or bad.
She made a big impression on him, apparently.
He made quite a kind of impression.
All right.
Any rate,
That's great.
that does explain why I always read these. The only one I tell without reading is the one about the talking frog, which is not in the Torah. Only the donkey gets to talk in the Torah. You want me to do the talking frog again? Okay, there we go. I'm now a stand-up comic. So the elderly man was walking along the river, and he sees a frog on the road. He picks it up. The frog says, "If you kiss me, I will turn into a beautiful young woman and grant your every wish." So the man puts the frog in his pocket and walks on. Pretty soon the frog pipes up, "But you didn't kiss me." And the man says, "Well, I thought it over, and I said at my age I'd rather have a talking frog."
It's a good one.
So I can still tell it. Years ago, I had one joke that I knew too, but I can't remember it now, except that there was something about a hippie jumping on the manhole cover. If anybody ever comes across that one, let me know what it is. No, it's something titled, it's totally different. That was one that I used to do 40 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd sure love to find it. So we will continue on with,
Page 282, as the ark
And-
is open,
and
and
I
we
was
ask
wonder-
everyone to rise for...
Jeff, before you
I'm sorry, go ahead.
start, do you have the names for the yard sites?
I don't have them. Are they?
Howard, could you go get them out of the lobby? There's a copy of the Chronicle.
Yes, that's good. Thank
That will help.
you. Okay.
Okay, so now we're ready for,
Yeah, for the Elenu. We'll rise for the Elenu. Is there a chronicle out there?
yeah, well, it was there yesterday. On the stand.
Howard? Hello?
It's on the stand.
I should have been specific.
There we go. That's great.
Sorry, I wasn't.
That's okay, thank you. And we rise for the Elenu. Elenu leshabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'tikenu la'leotze reshi, shavulo tesamayim yosei daretz, Moshav yikarov, vashamayim mal, ushkinat uzov. Oh, I'm reading the wrong one. Shalo sanu kimishpachot adama, shalo sancho kenu kahem, v'gora leinu kechol hamonam, ve'anachnu korim, u'mishtachadim u'modim, lifnei malach, Malkei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, V'nehemar, V'naya Adonai, L'melech kol haaretz, Vayom Mahu, Yeh Adonai Echad, U'Shemo Echad. Please be seated. So this is for the, is it July 11th through the 19th, Nancy?
Right.
Okay. So the art sites we're observing tonight, Irving Velkoff, Ida Rothman, Theodore Fishkin, Max L. Seidman, Harry Epstein, and Isaac Jacobson. And anyone else that you'd like to mention for remembering the art site for Kaddish? Please rise. And the Kaddish is on 294. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah. Amen. V'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayerecho beit Yisrael v'agala v'zman kari v'yimru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach leolam olmei olmaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit romam v'yit naseh v'yit adar v'yit halev v'yit halal shmei dekudesha brechu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'yimru. Amen. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us all and to all of Israel, to which we say, Amen. And our closing song tonight is Ein Kelohenu, which is found on page 322. Ein Kelohenu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkenu, Ein Kemoshienu, Mi Kelohenu, Mi Kadonenu, Mi Kemalkenu, Mi Kemoshienu, Nodel Elohenu, Nodel Adonenu, Lodem Emalkenu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. Thank everyone who came tonight for showing up. Shabbat Shalom. Please join us for a small oneg that Nancy prepared. And Shabbat Shalom.